Gordon, can you explain to us what's white noise and why certain people they talk about white noise for? What noise can help for the sound therapist? Before you reply, please press subscribe our YouTube video and press the notification bell and give us a thumb up. We got more video share with you. Yes, what's white noise?
So when we were discussing the subject of this video, I did a bit of research. I had no idea quite how popular white noise videos and audio on streaming services like Spotify, YouTube. It's amazing. There's loads and loads. I mean, maybe viewers.
What's white noise?
Maybe viewers, you're aware of this, but I had no idea.
What's white noise?
And the reason why I had no idea it was so popular is because of the background that I have always thought of white noise as having quite a rarefied, very specialist use. White noise is, let's just say what it is exactly. It's a generally electronically derived measurement and utility that's used by people who are keen on measuring and analysing signal processing, and this is everything from audio engineers, acousticians, telecoms engineers, and it's a kind. What does it sound like? It's like a hissing sound. The sort of sound, those of you who still got or can remember radio sets, it's the sound it's the kind of sound you get when you're trying to tune into a radio station. You're between the stations and you get this sort of hissing sound. Now, what it actually is all the frequency spectrum, the entire human audible frequency spectrum, it's tones of equal amplitude, which means that it's kind of a completely flat right across the frequency spectrum, across everything we can hear, from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency, around about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And the important thing about it is that it's equal amplitude, and it means that you can imagine, perhaps if you know anything about electronics, that this kind of flat signal, if you like, makes it a great measuring tool when you're designing or you're trying to work with signal processing.
But why?
So it's got this very, very kind of rarefied specialist use. So I was kind of quite astonished when I found that there's all these videos and audio streams flying around, which are primarily used for people, are targeted at people who have difficulty sleeping, also for people who want to relax. And why would that be? Why would that be?
Yeah, it's kind of noise for me, right? So the base signal of the radio.
Now, the next thing to say about this phenomenon, let's call it, is that it's kind of, when they call them white noise for
what's the effect of white noise?
White noise for people who are sleep deprived. Is that it's, strictly speaking, usually it's not actually white noise that they're talking about. And the best kind of white noise-like sound that people use for sleep deprived therapy are natural sounds, actually, like most particularly the ones that I think the most favourite and the most effective, probably and most effective, are waterfalls and rainfall, because they have this full spectrum sound. But the thing about them is they're naturally derived. And the key difference between real white noise and the the white noise-like sound of a waterfall is that the frequency amplitude of all the frequencies, because of course a waterfall has got all those frequencies, but they're not flat. The amplitude is more of a wave. Some of the frequencies are higher than the others, and they're changing all the time. There's this movement, and I think this is really key and very, very important. And so viewers, if you're interested in, if you're sleep deprived and you're interested in following this up, then check out the videos, check out the stuff on Spotify and so on, the streaming services, and go for either the sounds that are naturally derived, and we're going to get on to the next subject on this, is gongs are a perfect example.
Hold on. So the originally the white noise is for the engineer. They check the level, check the space, and then now the sound created by no matter it's from the nature or from the instrument, it's the sound that we call it white noise. Does that mean it's the quite loud sound to fill out the whole spectrum, fill out the space.
It's full spectrum. I don't know that, I mean, there's some debate about how loud it needs to be. I was reading this piece about, because of course parents of young babies are always very concerned that their babies are not sleeping well, and there's many of these white noise type. They actually make these devices that you can put near to babies when they're sleeping, so supposedly encourage them to sleep. I'm a bit concerned that perhaps some of those are electronically derived and they're not naturally sourced. But
so that the big sound throughout, if we talk about indoor, if I play a music with a waterfall, that means that the kind of like...
I think we need to explain exactly why it's effective. It's the full spectrum, that's the term that we can use, the full frequency spectrum that's important here, because what happens, and I just mentioned before you cut me off that we were going on to talk about why the gong is such a good instrument to use with this, apart from naturally derived
ones. So we move on to the gong.
Full spectrum nature of the gong sound, like the waterfall, is that what happens when you try and listen to it is that you unlike a musical sound, where you can follow a melody or you can tap your foot to a rhythm, there are easily identifiable elements in it which stick out, which you kind of, your ears and your brain seizes on, and you kind of can sing along to it or tap your foot and so on. With full spectrum sound like gongs or waterfalls, you can't do that. It's so thick, the sound is so thick that you lose track. Your mind, your brain can't follow it. You can't follow the intricacies of it. And that means you give up. And that's the beauty of it, because it kind of makes you, it helps you to relax. And the thinking is, some people say that and it's also true, it blankets out unwanted sound. So if you're trying to sleep in a noisy environment, then if you have this kind of what we're going to call white noise soundtrack, then it does blanket. It is very effective. Gongs, even when they're not played very loudly, are very effective at blanking out unwanted noise. But in addition to that, it's not just the blanketing out, it's also the notion that we give up. Our brains give up.
That's another issue. We talk about the gong. We have another video. But you talk about gong. I want to brought out the topic of Yogi Bhajan, the master, the great master of yoga and the gong master, of course. And he played the gong many times. He played the so-called white noise, and that's why many Kundalini teachers, they play the gong. They want to do to go to the create so-called white noise. So,
yes. Well, now this is, I think, I've got my own personal views about this. Don't come from Kundalini background, so maybe it's just my personal view. But I think this is a very misunderstood area, because I know a lot of my gong playing colleagues who don't come from the Kundalini background don't really understand, I think, what Yogi Bhajan was doing when he was playing the gong very loudly. And there's actually there's a lot of, I wouldn't say misinformation, but lack of information about his pioneering work with gong and what he was trying to do, and basically what you've outlined what he was trying to do, which was to use the sound of the gong and the one way that you can, I call it an Akashic shift, which if you Google you won't find any reference to. Combining two things, it's almost like a subject of another video, but let's just say that what I believe Yogi Bhajan was doing here was using the sound of a loud gong to create a really powerful white noise to give those within the space a shift in their consciousness up into the Akashic.
Very powerful,
And we'll talk about the Akashic, I think, perhaps in another video, because it's a very interesting subject. Again, I think it's misunderstood and confused. Some people are really quite confused about what it is, but certainly as gong players, it's actually a really fascinating topic to explore.
So the white noise, how can people play white noise? Some of our students say that, I play the gong in the end, I play the white noise to the end. So what everybody can create the white noise?
Yes. Again, I want to go back to this thing, whereas it's not strictly speaking the classical definition of white noise. It's become, but the point, to answer your question,
can everybody create a white noise to shift people's energy?
Can everybody create? The first question is, can everybody create? Every gong player create white noise? They do every time they play the gong, because they're creating this full spectrum sound.
Yes,
whether it's very very soft or very loud, they're creating this full spectrum sound. Second, can they create this Akashic shift every time they play the gong? Probably not. I mean, Yogi Bhajan was a great master, and his way of creating this Akashic shift was, of course, there was an intention behind it as well. But his thing was the shift. He reckoned, and he was a very forceful individual. I understand his personality was quite full, so it kind of goes with his personality that he played loud. But it's generally, my experience with this is that you do actually have to up the volume to create the shift. But it's not really just a question of playing the gong loud. This is where I think people fall down.
Do you remember years ago we have somebody shoot a video when you play the hand gong, and we put it on the YouTube. Some people come and say that, it's very noisy, I don't feel good. Anybody feels the same as me? So can you explain that short clips of the video you use a hand gong? What's that? Why you call it Akashic shift? What happened?
Well, I mean, I generally use a small hand gong when I'm attempting an Akashic shift. And there's a lot of intention involved in it to start with. But you're building on the energy within the space and with the people that are in the space. And there are opportune times, I think, when it works, when you feel as though the gong can take you into that possibility of achieving it. But it does necessarily mean that what I'm doing with a hand gong is I'm spinning in a circle, in a tight circle. So I'm kind of creating this little mini vortex, it feels like to me, and spinning around with the gong and creating this sort of vortex of white noise, let's call it sound. It's not for the faint-hearted, really. But the point is that if you're watching in a video, it's not the same as being there, I think, in this. And it's
because the video just very short.
And it was part of a long therapy. It was part of a whole sound therapy practice that people there were in the space, 20 or so people in the space were participating in and giving energy to.
I was lucky several times. Just naturally went to the you call it Akashic shift or white noise. I was there, so I can feel that after that, all the space totally it's a shift. It's a kind of, you call it quantum shift. It's totally different.
That's where I got the term from. Akashic shift came from the notion of what a quantum shift. Viewers, if you look up, I'm not going to go into that because that's like, you know, high level physics. I mean, I was going to make this a subject of another video. I'm sure we can, because there's lots more to talk about. Akasha and its importance for gong players. That I strongly believe it's an important part of the work that we should do.
So if people like to play the gong or any instrument to white noise or white noise, people can easily create white noise. But if you want to quantum shift or Akasha shift, you got to intention involved, and also got to be very sensitive about the energy in the space. Right?
I think so, and it's better if it's part of a practice that you lead up to. You need to take. You need to take.
It's not you create it deliberately. I'll strike very hard.
It's not like just a click of the fingers and you can create it. That, as I say, Yogi Bhajan was a great master, so he's really, but he's misunderstood, I think, amongst some gong players, even within the Kundalini community. I think they really don't really get it, what he was doing.
Thank you. If you are more interested about the quantum shift or Akasha shift, you can see below in the video. I'll put the links for you. You can check it out. And if you like to join us to be the gong player, to help the how do you say that, to resonance the world, to help people, you can come to our Gong training. We see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.